Hello everyone, welcome to another video on our Python tutorial playlist. So today we'll be discussing the conditional statement in Python. We'll be looking at their syntaxes and how we can make use of conditional statements effectively. In this video, we will learn why conditional statements are important, how to use the if, elif, and else statement, and nested conditionals, and we'll be making use of practical examples. So if you are new, subscribe, and for my hot subscribers, like, share, comment, drop your comments and questions very importantly, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Without wasting time, let's dive right in.
Conditional statements allow our program to make decisions based on specific conditions. They control the flow of execution by enabling your code to branch into different paths. We use conditional statements in decision-making process, validating data, and even in checking user inputs. There are three keywords to use when writing a conditional statement: if, elif, and else. We'll be looking at each one of them. The if statement executes a block of code if a condition evaluates to true. So to make this class easy, I've written some line of codes already. We'll be looking at them one after the other. Okay, so just like we said previously, we said the if statement executes a block of code if a condition evaluates to true. The syntax we use for the if statement is this. So I'll just go ahead and copy this so that you can see it here. So this is how it's written: if, then you write your condition. Note that our if is in small letter and not capital letter. Okay, then this condition we said must evaluate to true before our code can be executed. So let's take an example to see what we are talking about. So I'll go ahead and just copy this block of code and show it here. So we've set our age variable to 18. If you look at this block of code, we said age is equals to 18, and what we want to do, we want to check if our variable which we set to 18 is equal to or greater than any value, and we have a line of code that we want it to print. So this is the condition. We said if age is greater than or equals to 18, then go ahead and print this line of code, right? So like what we said, if your condition, so yeah, this is our condition that has to be met. So this condition has to be true for this code to be executed, for this print statement to be executed. Okay, so if we look at this, let's go ahead and run this statement. So you can see you are eligible to vote. And why did this line of code run? Is just because this condition evaluated to true, because previously we've set our age value to 18 and it's 18 greater than or equals to 18. That's true. So if we go ahead and let me say, okay, I want to change this value to, let's say, okay, let's use the condition less than instead of equal, greater than or equals to. Let's use lesser than. Is 18 lesser than 18? That's false. So if we run this line of code, you see that it did not, print out anything because this condition here did not evaluate to true. Okay, so for this line of code to run successfully, our condition here must evaluate to true. I hope you understand that. So let's change this back to we can also say equals to 18. Okay, if we also say greater than, it's going to not run because 18 is not greater than 18, right? So if we run this, you see that this our line of code didn't run. Okay, so let's change this back and run our code again. So you are eligible to vote. Next is the Elif statement. The Elif is used in adding an additional condition after an if statement has been made. So let's say, for example, okay, let's go ahead and let me show you the syntax first before we take another example. Okay, so this is the syntax for using the Elif statement, and just like the if statement, you could see if your condition, then if you want to place in another condition after you've used the first if statement, you cannot use if again. You have to change and use an Elif statement. Then you can see if condition 1, then the block of code you want to be executed, then Elif condition 2. Okay, so let's just take an example so that we can understand better what I'm trying to say. So this is another example. Let me just go ahead and copy this, and we'll be using it. Okay, so yeah, we have a variable called score, and we've said our score is equals to 75, right? And this example is just like, okay, we have our various student scores, and we want to grade them into A, B, or C, and we want to do that using a simple code that can help us to do that effectively. Okay, so we've said that we've set our variable score to be 75, and we've said if this score is greater than or equals to 90, then grade the student to be A. And if the score is greater than or equals to 80, grade the student to be B. And if the score is greater than or equals to 70, grade the student to be C. Okay, so you just like, if score is greater than or equals to 90, we want that grade to be A. But if that score, you just like giving it an alternative, but because you cannot use if any longer, because you can only use this if statement once, you have to use Elif. Okay, so Elif is just like adding another additional condition after an if statement has been made. Okay, so if we go ahead and run this, you see we got a grade C because our score was equals to 75. So first of all, this is how the code is going to run. Your score is 75, so 75 will be here. Is 75 greater than or equals to 90? That's false. And remember that your code is only going to run when it evaluates to true, right? So when it comes here and score is 75 and 75 is not greater than or equals to 90, this is false. So this print statement is not going to run. It's going to skip this and it's going to come to the next statement, conditional statement, which is this Elif. Is 75 greater than or equals to 80? This is also a false statement. So this print statement is not going to run. It's going to then come to this last Elif statement. Is 75 greater than or equals to 70? This is true. It's at this point it's going to go ahead and print out this print statement. Okay, so it's going to go through each of these block of code. It's only when the condition evaluates to true before the print statement will be printed out. Okay, the last conditional statement we have is the else keyword. The else keyword is used to execute a block of code if none of the if or elif condition are met. Okay, so you see we had the if condition, elif, and another elif. So what about if we have values that are lesser than 75? What if we want to grade those values as D? We can there go ahead and use the else statement. Okay, so let's just copy this so that you know how the else statement look like. So this is the syntax for the else statement, and it's quite different from using the if and the elif statement. So you could say that for the else statement, no condition has to be placed in, because the else statement is going to take in this alternative option that is available. So if a value is not greater than 75, definitely that value will be less than 75, right? And remember we said the else keyword is used to execute a block of code if none of the if or the elif condition are met. So you don't have to place in a condition here, because if this condition is not met and any other elif condition is not met, then the else statement is then going to go ahead and run. Okay, so let's just take an example and see what we are talking about. So let's copy this and paste it here. So in this example, we'll look at a it circuit. We first of all created a variable where our temperature is equals to 15, and we said if our temperature is greater than 30, go ahead and print it is hot, else print it is cool. Meaning when we say else, we are saying the opposite. If it's not greater than 30, meaning we have a value that is less than 30, right? So for any other value, in as much as the value is lesser than 30 or even equals to 30, you can go ahead and print it is cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this statement. You can see it's printed it is cool because our value is equals to 15. If we change this our temperature value to 35, where our value is greater than 30, because remember we said it's going to come here, is 35 greater than 30? That's true. So once it's true, it's going to go ahead and print this condition, right? So it's going to print it is hot. But if this value is 15, a value which is less than our condition here, so it's going to go ahead and run. Is 15 greater than 30? That's false. So this statement is not going to run. So it's going to go to ahead to this s block of statements. S meaning if the value is lesser than 30, go ahead and print the statement it is cool. So for this s block, you don't have to pass in a condition to it. It's just going to execute if none of the if or the elif condition is met. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this, and you see we got our it is cool. We can also combine multiple conditions using logical operators. And when we talk about operators, logical operators, if you remember in one of our previous class, I mentioned our logical operators to be and, or, and not, and, or, and not. Okay, so when using and, so and, or, not, so these are our logical operators. So we can combine multiple conditioners or two or more conditioners using these logical operators. Okay, so let's create more code cells and take more examples. When using and to combine multiple conditions, all conditions must be true in order for a block of code to be executed. Okay, so if we are using and, the both side of our conditions must be true. So let's take another example. Okay, so I have an example here which I've written already, so let's use this. So you can see that we have two variables here, username and password, and we say we have admin as our username and we have our password to be 1234. Okay, so this is our line of code. We said if our username equals to admin and our password is also equals to 1234, then go ahead and print access has been granted, else print access denied. And we know we said it's going to come here, our username is admin, so is admin equals admin, that's true. Password is 1234, is 1234 equals 1234, that's true. So if we run this code, it's going to print access granted. So this condition must be true, and also this condition also here must be true for this our block of code to be able to run. In a situation where we have, so let's say for example we have this to be 1235, instead of 1234. So is our username admin? Yes. Is our password equals to 1234? That's false, because yeah, our password is 1235. So if we print this, it's not going to print access granted, because this our condition here was true, but this our condition here was equals to false. I remember when using AND logical operator for two conditions, both conditions must be equals to true. In situation where one is false, then this line of code cannot run. It's going to go to our else statement, and the opposite, or this, is going to be printed. So if we go ahead and run this, you'll see access was denied because our password wasn't correct. Our password was 1235. Okay, so that's for using the AND statement. Remember that each condition must be equals to true for your line of code to run. Okay, so another operator which we can use, logical operator, is OR. So for using the OR, I'll just go ahead and use this example also. So we can change this AND to OR. When using the OR logical operator, at least one condition must be true. So in this situation here, our code is going to run successfully. It's going to give us the access granted, because we just need one of the condition to be true. Why for AND we need both condition to be true. And if you look at our code, this our condition here is true. Okay, so our username is equals to admin, right? So our code is going to, this our first line of code is going to print access granted, because if you look at our if statement, one of our condition is true already, although this one is false. We say while using the OR logical operator, we just need one condition, at least one condition must be true. Okay, so that's the difference between using AND and the OR. Why not logical operator is used to negate the condition. Okay, so let's look at an example to explain that. So let me go ahead and copy this just like we've been doing. And in this example, we are creating a program that checks if a user does not have access to a restricted area unless they are admin. Okay, so let's build a program that does that. So set our its admin variable to be equals to false. Okay, so and we said if not is admin, print access denied, admins only, and s print access granted, welcome admin. Okay, so what we are saying is that if the statement is admin is equals to false, don't grant access to the person, but if the reverse is the situation, they go ahead and grant access. And remember, we said that what does not do, not negate a statement. Okay, it gives you a negative of that statement. So is admin is false, meaning what we just technically say is not. Remember, is admin, we said is false here. So if a statement is not false, it means this condition is equals to true, right? So if not is admin, technically is saying if true, print access denied, admins only. I remember we said admin is false, so if you are not an admin, definitely, meaning this statement here is true, so you be denied access, you are not an admin. If the opposite is the situation, then you can go ahead and grant access to that person. So if we go ahead and run this, we are going to get access denied, admins only, because these are first condition here evaluated to true. Remember, for this block of line of code to be able to run, this our condition here must evaluate to true. And why did this condition evaluate to true? This is what we have just explained here. We said not negate a statement, and what is our statement is admin, and its admin here is false. So not false, it technically is equals to true, and if our condition is true, then this block of line of code will be printed. But let's go ahead and change this to true. So meaning this person is an admin, is admin is equals to true here. And if this person is an admin, this statement here is going to be not true, right? Because is admin equals to true. So this statement here is going to be if not true. If not true, that's it's the opposite. If it's not true, it's false, right? So this statement will not run, because you remember that for an if condition to run, this block of line of code has to be equals to true. So it means our else statement would then be run, because if or any elif condition is not met, then the else statement is going to run, right? So if we go ahead and run this, we're going to say access granted, welcome admin. Okay, so I hope you understand that brief explanation which I just gave. Okay, we can also use one conditional statement inside another for more complex decision, and this is what we called nested conditional statement. For example, let's take a look at this piece of code below. So let's look at this. Okay, and let's go ahead and paste this here. So if you look at this piece of code, you can see that we have a conditional statement, which is this, inside this conditional statement, and this is what we call a nested conditional statement. When you have a conditional statement inside another conditional statement, it's called a nested conditional statement. In this conditional statement, or in this piece of code, what we are trying to do, we are trying to create a program that's going to check if a citizen is eligible to vote based on two variables: the citizen's age and if the person is a citizen or not. The person's age and if the person is a citizen or not. Okay, so we've set our variable here, which is age, to be 20, and we also set our variable citizen to be true. Okay, so and what we did, look at what we did. We said if the age of that person is greater than or equals to 18, this is one of the conditions that has to be met first of all. And we also have another condition. We said if the person is a citizen, then go ahead and print you are eligible to vote. But remember that, okay, we also have an else condition here in case the person is not a citizen. So if the person's age is greater than 18 and the person is not a citizen, the person is not eligible to vote. The person has to be a citizen to vote. Okay, so these are three conditions first. I remember that not just only that, if your age is also lesser than 18, if you are not up to 18, you are also too young to vote, you are not eligible to vote. So you could see that we have four conditions here. So first of all, you have to be greater than 18 years of age and you have to be a citizen for you to be eligible to vote. If you are more than 18 years of age and you are not a citizen, you are not eligible to vote. And also, if you are less than 18 years of age and you are a citizen, you are also not eligible to vote. So this is just what our piece of code is saying. So if we go ahead and run this, let me take this up again. You could see we have you are eligible to vote. And why did we have that? Our age was equals to 20 and the person, the individual, is a citizen. The citizen variable is equals to true. So it's going to come here and say, okay, is age 20 greater than or equals to 18? That's true. So this is the first condition that will be run, which has evaluated to true. So it's going to go to this next block of line of code. Is the individual a citizen? Is equals to true also, because it has also already been stated here that the individual is citizen is equals to true. Okay, so it's going to go ahead and print this line of code. You are eligible to vote. So but if we change this citizen value here, this variable here, to false, so it's going to say is the individual age greater than 18? Is true. 20 is greater than 18, right? But here now we've already changed this value to be false, right? So if is this person a citizen is false. And remember, if this line of code here equates to false, it's going to go to the else statement, because this if condition here has to be true for this print statement to be run. Okay, so once this if statement here is false, it's going to go to this last line of code, which is the else statement. So else, you need to be a citizen. So if we run this, you'll see that it tells us that this individual has to be a citizen. Sorry about that. Oh, let me go back and screw. Okay, and let's add more block. Okay, so you see it said you need to be a citizen to vote. Okay, so another thing also, let's change this to let's say the person is 17 years, not up to 18 years, and let's say okay, this person is a citizen, right? So you can see that it's going to give us you are too young to vote, because let's go ahead and run this, because it's going to come to this first line of code. Is this person's age, since 17 greater than or equals to 18? That's false, right? So because this first line of code is already equals to false, it's not going to go ahead and go into this other line of code. It's going to go into this else statement. Okay, so it's going to print you are too young to vote. So before our program can go into this next if condition, this first if condition has to be true before this next one can take place. Okay, lastly, I will give another practical example, just to recap what we've been teaching about. Okay, so let me go ahead and copy this. We need more code cells, and I'll go ahead and just paste this here. Okay, so if you look at our code, we just write a short code, that's just going to look at how to use if, elif, and else statements. So we are writing a code, and this code is going to detect if a number you've inputted is a positive number, a negative number, or if this number is 0, right? So how do you know a positive number? Numbers that are greater than 0 are positive number, from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In as much as that number is greater than 0 is a positive number, right? And how do you know negative number? Numbers that are less than 0, -1, -2, -3, all these values are lesser than 0, right? So that's just an easy way for you to and dictate a positive number and a negative number. So what are we going to do? We are going to check if any number we are going to input is a positive number, a negative number, or if this number is 0. Okay, so and how do we do that? Because we have 3 conditions we want to be met. We want to check if this number is positive. We also want to know if the number is negative, and we also want to know if this number is 0. So we have 3 conditions we want to be met. So we are going to use the if, elif, and the else statement. Meaning we use the if if this number is above 0. Okay, tell us that this number is positive, right? So that's what the first if condition statement is saying. If your number is greater than 0, the print this number is positive, right? Then because we said if you've used if, you can't use if again, you have to use the keyword elif, right? So we're going to say if our number is less than 0, just like saying if our number is lesser than 0, tell us that this number is negative, right? And we also have a third criteria. What about if this number is equals to 0? We want to know that this number is 0, right? So for us to do that, we have to use the else, because if our elif or our if condition is not being met, what is going to take place? Then the else condition is going to run, right? So this is just a simple piece of code that does that. Okay, so we have a variable here which we called number, and what we have to do is just to impute any number of our choice which we need. Okay, so let's enter the value of 5. Is 5 a positive number? Yes, because that number is greater than 0. So if I go ahead and run this, it's going to say this number is positive, right? Very, very easy. So let me go ahead. I want to put in another value again. Okay, so this time around I want to put in a negative value, and let's say we have value of minus 3, right? So let's run this. You could see it says this number is negative, because what does it do? It's going to come here. The value, the number we've placed in is minus 3, right? So is minus 3 greater than 0? That's the first question is going to ask. Is minus 3 greater than 0? That's false. And you know this condition is going to run only when it is true. Because it is false, it's not going to run. It's going to go to the Elif condition, which is our next conditional statement. Is that number lesser than 0? It is true. So because it is true, our print statement now can run, right? So for the first one, when we use a number of 5, it's going to say is 5 greater than 0? 5 is greater than 0, because this our first condition as evaluated to a true statement is going to print your number is positive. So let's try this again, and you know, let's go with a value that is equals to 0. Okay, so let's use 0 this time around. If we click this in, you see your number is 0, because it's going to come here 0 greater than 0. 0 is not greater than 0, so it's not going to, this print statement is not going to run because it's false statement, right? Is 0 lesser than 0? 0 is not lesser than 0. Same thing will happen. This statement is not going to run because our first two condition has been has given us a false reply. Our else statement now is going to take place and run, and is going to print that our number is equals to 0. So that's just a quick and a short explanation on how the if, the elif, and the else statement works. Okay, so before I leave us with a challenge for us to handle in our spare time to go over what we've discussed today, I also talk about some pitfalls to avoid when using conditional statements. The first one is indentation. So you can see very clearly that when we are writing our code, our if statement starts at the beginning of the script, right? And when we want to write the code we want to be executed, like for example print this number is positive, you could see that we gave an indentation. Okay, so let's say let me just go ahead and type this so that we can see what I'm talking about. So we'll say if our number is greater than 0, right? Remember to always use your colon. Okay, sometimes we forget to make use of this colon and we're going to get an error, so ensure that at the end you must always make sure you put this your colon. Is very important. You could see even for our s where we don't have to specify a condition, we also added our colon, right? Then when you are done with that, when you want to write your code that you want to be executed, you go to your next line, and by default, because I'm using a Jupyter notebook, it's just going to give and take me to the right indentation. But in some instances, your icon might be at this point, so you can press your tab button, or you can use your space button twice. So that's for that. Either you press your tab button, okay, either you press your tab button or you use your space button 4 times, not twice. Sorry about that. So you just go ahead, then you can put in your print statement. So always ensure to give in this space. Your tab button once or your space button 4 times will give you this space. So this is what we call indentation. So if there's no proper indentation, so let me say for example, if it's like this, you could see that we're already getting a red coloring to show that it's an error, right? So even if I do this is like 2 space indenting, you can still see that it's showing me that this is an error. So until it is 4, and you can see that it's now green. So it has to be 4 space indenting or your tab button 1. Okay, so this indentation is very common. It's a very common pitfall when it comes to writing a conditional statements or block of codes. Okay, so another pitfall we'll be looking at is the use of comparison versus assignment. So in one of our previous class, we've already talked about the difference between using the double equal sign and using just the equal sign. We said that the double equal sign is to show for comparison, while the just equal sign is shows assignment, right? So if we say a equals to 1 2 3, and we say b equals to 1 2 3, okay, So what we did here, we assigned the value, this list values to A, and we also did the same thing by assigning these list values to B. So if we decide to print if our A equals B, we are going to get the value of true, right? Because these two lists are equals to each other. But if we check if our A value is same thing as B, we are going to get false, because these two lists, although they are containing same value, they are stored in different location in the computer system. Okay, so how do we know that? We can go ahead and check the ID of A and B. So let's say ID, print the ID of A and also print ID of B, right? So you could see that if you see these two values, you could see that they are different. So this A list and B list are stored in various locations, two different locations in our computer system. So, but we can also go ahead and say, okay, A, assign our A value to B, and if we go ahead and run this now, you could say that we got true. Our A is B, and this list is stored in just one location. Okay, so you can see that we are referring to just this list, which is our A value, that is stored in this same location. So even though we assign it to another value of B, it's still the same list we are referring to. But once we create another list, then this other list, though it contains same value, is going to be stored in another location in our computer system. When we use just our equals sign, we are assigning a value, okay? But when we use the double equal sign, we are checking for equality between those values. So when we use the double equal sign like this, we are checking for equality between these values, not assigning these values. So we can see that our A value equals to our B value, but it's not the same thing as our B value, because these both lists are stored in various locations in our computer system. Here's a challenge exercise that I want each and every one of us to go ahead and attempt. You can use this to practice your understanding of what you've learned in our class today. Okay, so write a program that takes a user's score as input and prints their grade based on the following: 90 to 100 as A, 80 to 89 as B, 70 to 79 as C, and so on. Okay, so I guess we can do that. In our next class, we'll be discussing on loops in Python. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, remember to drop your comments and questions or any programming challenge you would like for us to tackle, and I'll do my best to answer them. Okay, bye for now.